the Bahamas tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening. I'm Sabrina Brown. Thank you for joining us. Topping the news tonight, the economy of Grand Bahama could soon reap the benefits of high-level discussions held between government officials and international investors. The meetings were held recently in London, and the Minister for Grand Bahama says Grand Bahama's growing industrial sector was the focus. Italia Hall reports.
The Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, was among a delegation headed by the nation's leader attending several business meetings with investors in London last week. The delegation met with representatives of the Grand Bahama Port Authority and the Freeport Container Port to discuss pending developments in Freeport's industrial sector. Minister Darville terms the discussions very successful. He says the meetings included high-level talks on the expansion of the Grand Bahama Shipyard and the Freeport Container Port.
With the implementation of the Grand Bahama Investment Incentive Bill 2016, the government has now created a new paradigm shift for economic growth and development on the island. This particular expansion of the container port and the harbor expansion is definitely essential to prime the economic engine and to have that injection of capital in Grand Bahama to ensure that the business community begin to feel the effects of the hard work that we have been doing through the Ministry of Grand Bahama, the Ministry of Finance, and the Prime Minister's Office.
Also during the London talks, members of the delegation focused on the expansion of the Panama Canal, which plays a major role in the industrial sector on Grand Bahama as well.
As you travel towards West Grand Bahama and past the Fishing Hole Road, you would see ongoing work happening simultaneously with the Fishing Hole Road, and that is the expansion of the harbor. It's important for us to get our harbor expansion completed so that we can benefit from this new traffic of Super Post-Panamax vessels that will be coming to the island of Grand Bahama and helping us to develop our maritime sector.
Now the minister says he is optimistic about these new expansions, and this means more job opportunities for the youth.
You can see exactly what our new program at the shipyard, where we are now training blasters, riggers, painters, scaffolders, and even new apprentices at the shipyard. This is all in preparation for the projected business that is about to come our way.
It's Talia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Members of the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce getting a lesson in the threats of de-risking in the Bahamas during the Chamber's monthly luncheon meeting today at Pelican Bay. Shashina Roll was there.
An interesting meeting at the Grand Bahama Chamber of Commerce, as Governor of the Central Bank, John Roll, shared on the topic of de-risking in the context of corresponding banks, its emergence, and how it is evolving.
It means that the institution has purposely stopped providing certain services to subset of its clients, and it could be because they determined, or in this case particularly because they determined that the risk or potential cost of providing such services outweigh the returns from or the benefits from providing those services.
He says the Bahamas conducted a survey last year on de-risking trends in the banking system.
So we got returns from 53 institutions, a mix of local and offshore, and the sort of patterns that we identified would be similar to what is happening in other countries, even though by some assessment the Bahamas has not been as severely impacted as some other countries, say for example Belize, where there was an incident when Belize was totally cut off from all international banking channels.
Roll also told chamber members about the impacts identified.
We were only able to have information that there were 6 financial institutions who were completely severed, but they managed to establish new relationships. So that's 6 out of the 53 banks that we surveyed. But in many respects, banks typically would have encountered some variations in terms of the terms and the scope of their services. So there's still that kind of adjustment happening more widespread in the relationship.
So why is this a concern?
As an international financial center, we want to ensure that standalone banking operations remain viable as business structures so that the Bahamas can continue to earn direct economic benefits from this sector. So to deflect the threats to the sector, we have to tackle the misperceptions about regulatory quality and transparency of our regime.
But he says the good news is the Bahamas has a well-documented record of demonstrating commitment to implementing enhanced information sharing through various agencies. Shashina Roll, ZNS Network News.
Tomorrow is decision day for taxi drivers as they will head to the polls to elect a new administration to lead the Grand Bahama Taxi Union for the next 2 years. Tonight we talk with an executive of the union who is taking on the president for the top position.
I can't tell them.
First Vice President of the Grand Bahama Taxi Union, Harold Curry, is confident that he will emerge as president at the end of Thursday's elections. Curry, who has served in various positions in the union for the past 20 years, says the union needs new vision.
We need to go there and get a marketing agent to go off with Ministry of Tourism and other government to go there to promote and to get your own people under Grand Bahama Taxi Union, not fighting for other people. And doing that, if you have your own people here, when they come to the airport or the harbor, you don't have to be arguing for this person and the other person.
That's just one of the goals in Curry's 10-point plan. He says another area of focus is to upgrade the fleet of vehicles in order to make the union more competitive. He contends that the organization has been going in a downward spiral and charges that the union has lost 4 major contracts under the present administration.
We lost the contract by the shipyard. Mr. Forbes bust do it. We lost one to the harbor, which was from Polaris Gates. We lost another one by the airport, S&D doing that. And we lost another one in Lucaya with the Dolphins. And the White Palace is doing it. That's 4 contracts under this administration.
Curry says, as president, he will focus on restoring unity among taxi drivers and increase the union's membership.
When the president took over, we had close to 300 members, and all of those members dropped down to like 79 members. After a lot of members heard that I'm going to run, they came the last minute and they joined back up, and we get up to 193. And I guarantee you, when I get in the chair, the first couple months, we get up to about at least 400 members or 300.
The search continues for a missing cruise ship passenger in waters off Freeport. Reports say the 32-year-old woman from New York fell from the deck of the 11th floor of the Carnival Ecstasy around 2:30 this morning. The incident occurred some 27 miles southwest of Freeport. The U.S. Coast Guard is leading the search. Meanwhile, the Coast Guard cutter Bernard Weber picking up some 13 Cuban migrants near the Key Sal Bank yesterday. The 12 males and 1 female were intercepted at sea in a rustic vessel. They were brought to Grand Bahama last night and handed over to local authorities. The Cuban migrants claim that they left Cuba on Saturday en route to Florida. Now, one of the migrants is known to immigration officers as he was rescued at sea some 2 months ago and sent back to Cuba. All of the migrants have been processed and examined by medical personnel from the Disease Surveillance Unit of the Public Hospitals Authority. They will be flown to New Providence tomorrow and will be housed at the detention center to await repatriation. Stay with us, there's more news after this.